Flying Press is one of the most unique moves in the Pokemon series. In-game it's listed as a fighting type move, but in practice it also deals flying damage at the same time, leading to a one-of-a-kind type effectiveness chart. But that got us thinking, what other moves could have multiple types? What's up, fellas? I'm Matt, and that's what Elias and I are gonna check out today. Alright, let's get started.
What's up? I'm Elias, and Muddy Water would be a prime candidate to get 2 types. Well, sort of. As of now, it's a water type move with a chance to lower accuracy. But most mud-based moves are ground type instead, including Mud Slap, Mud Shot, Mud Bomb, and Mud Sport. So let's take a look at what Muddy Water's type effectiveness would be like if it dealt water and ground type damage at the same time. How well would that fit into the game?
Badly. Thanks for asking.
Oh, you're welcome.
No individual types are weak to fighting and flying. That means that no single type Pokemon are 4 times weak to Flying Press. But that wouldn't be the case with dual typed Muddy Water. If it were water and ground type, it would deal 2 times damage against poison, steel, electric, and ground types, and 4 times damage against fire and rock, since those 2 are weak to water and ground. So Pokemon like Gigalith and Magmar would be double weak to it, despite only having 1 type.
But wait, it gets worse. Since Fire and Rock would be 4 times weak to it individually, Magcargo, Hisuian Arcanine, and Colossal would take approximately 9 zillion damage from a dual-typed Muddy Water. Their whole species would probably go extinct because they'd be 16 times weak to this move. 4 times weaknesses are already really dangerous, so quadrupling the damage yet again would, well, honestly, it'd be kinda overkill. On the flip side, a water and ground type move would be resisted by bug, water, and dragon types, double resisted by grass, and completely ineffective against flying types.
Overall, I think a dual type Muddy Water would be a good coverage option for some Pokemon. Ground is super effective against 5 different types, which is tied with fighting for the most in the game. Bellibolt can't learn any ground type moves that are stronger than Mud Shot, so adding the ground type to Muddy Water would give it more usable coverage. Bellibolt already commonly uses Muddy Water to hit ground types, so adding even more super effective types would be a nice bonus.
But in many other cases, you'd be better off using separate water and ground type moves. A dual type Muddy Water would be nice in some cases, yes, but it would be less than ideal in others. It'd be the only water move that can't hit flying types, which is not great. It would also be the only ground move that's not very effective against water and dragon. If a Pokemon has access to strong water and ground moves, they'd be better off sticking with those.
Smog is an absolutely terrible move. It has a 40% chance to poison the target, but it's just 30 power and 70% accurate. Yup, a move Coughing learns at level 1 is just as accurate as Focus Miss. I mean Focus Miss. I mean Focus Miss. I mean Focus Miss. In Gens 1 through 5, Smog was even weaker, clocking in at just 20 power. It's one of the worst moves in the game, but what if it did a combination of poison and fire type damage? Well, it would still be awful, but what would its type chart look like?
Poison and fire are also super effective against a common type, grass. So pure grass types like Blossom and Carnivine would be 4 times weak to this move. But if you're using this move against Blossom or Carnivine, don't do that. Every Pokemon that can learn Smog has better ways to hit grass types. It would also be super effective against Fairy, Bug, and Ice. Normally resisted by 6 types, double resisted by Rock, and Steel types would still be immune to it. Did you know that 1 + 1 is sometimes 2?
Well, yeah, because sometimes people get it wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, is that where you were going with that?
Yeah.
Welcome to MEPlaysGames. Maybe I am an actual psychic. Maybe I wasn't wrong in last week's video. If you ask us, Smog would be even worse if it had 2 types. It would be super effective against 4 types, sure, but a whopping 8 types would take half damage or less from it. Smog couldn't damage steel types despite dealing fire type damage, since the poison type would make it an immunity. Being resisted by 8 types is absolutely brutal, because no individual type has that property. Bug and grass are not very effective against 7 types apiece, but if you smash poison and fire together, they would break that record thanks to steel's immunity.
We say that Smog could be a fire type move because coal fires and forest fires are some of Smog's causes in the real world. That's reflected in Smog's learn set too. There are actually more fire type Pokemon that can learn this move compared to poison types. So we think that this dual type property would make sense. Smog would be even worse than it already is, but it would be thematic, so that's something, right?
Yeah, sure.
You're the one who put that in there.
I am the one who put that in there. So what? I'm gonna be honest, when I was just getting into Pokemon, I genuinely couldn't remember what type this next move was. Steel Wing is a steel type move, but it's a nice mid-game option for many flying type Pokemon. A metric ton of flying types can learn it, but only 5 steel types can. But I think this would be another good candidate to be a dual typed move. Do you always forget Steel Wing's type as well, or am I dumb?
I don't know who Steel Wing is. Steel Wing is a flying type move.
Extremely loud, incorrect buzzer.
It's a steel type move?
My guy, I just read that paragraph. It's a steel type move. Oh my god.
If Steel Wing dealt steel and flying type damage at the same time, it would be super effective against 5 types: Fighting, Bug, Grass, Fairy, and Ice. Rock types are weak to steel but resist flying. That means Steel Wing would do neutral damage against Sudowoodo, since the type matchups would cancel each other out. It would also be resisted by fire and water, and double resisted by steel and electric.
I was gonna say something. I forgot.
It's your turn.
Twister could also theoretically be a flying type move. In the actual games, it deals dragon type damage. Most of the time, wind-based moves are flying type. That includes stuff like Hurricane, Air Cutter, Aeroblast, and Bleak Wind Storm. But if they have some other elemental features, then they'll get a different type. Blizzard and Icy Wind are ice type, Petal Blizzard is grass type, and so on and so on.
One thing that used to surprise us was that Twister isn't a flying type move, but as it turns out, there's a good reason for that. Twister is dragon type instead because its Japanese name is Tatsumaki, which roughly translates to dragon spiral. That's a reference to mythological dragons that spiral around themselves, turning them into a shape of a twister. But what if Twister was a dual dragon and flying type move?
Hey fellas, remember last week when we said Elias would be going to the Olympics as a gymnast in this video? Well, unfortunately he broke 223 of his bones. I didn't even know he had that many.
Doesn't the adult only have 206 bones?
That's the joke, thank you.
Okay.
The Olympics were also a couple months ago, but like, don't worry about it. Well, Twister would be the only dragon type move that's super effective against more than one type. Bug, grass, fighting, and dragon types would be weak to it, rock and electric types would resist it, steel types would double resist it, and fairy types would be immune. This kind of change wouldn't be that impactful though, since Twister is only 40 base power, which is too weak to be useful after, I don't know, 3 gyms or so?
Come to think of it, Dragon Ascent could also deal dragon and flying type damage. It wouldn't necessarily be an upgrade though, because it'd be a flying type move that can't hit fairies, and it would be even less effective against steel than it already is. But Rayquaza would probably use it in some games anyway, because it needs to know this move to Mega Evolve. Insert 27-minute rant about how strong Mega Rayquaza is here. You realize that they're gonna ask for that video now.
Oh god. Now I've got to do the Caterpie video and the Mega Rayquaza video.
Oh god.
The fact that fairies would be immune is less than ideal, but fairy types are usually an issue for Rayquaza anyway. You could also argue that all the other wind moves could be flying type, but we're not going to explore them all in detail today, because we've got a bunch more moves to cover. But here are a few highlights. If we add the flying type to all the wind moves, grass types would be double weak to Blizzard, bucket grass types would be double weak to Heat Wave, which would make Pokemon like Leavanny 16 times weak, and fighting types would be double weak to Springtide Storm. Hi! YouTube keeps setting our videos as made for kids, so what you're about to hear is our best attempt to avoid that.
Many punching moves in the game are fighting type like you might expect. Although they can also have different types if there's something else associated with them. Shadow Punch is Ghost type, Bullet Punch and Meteor Mash are Steel type, and so on and so on. But what would happen if we added the fighting type to Thunder, Fire, and Ice Punch? Well, for starters, all of these moves would become super effective against normal. Not bad. Fire Punch would probably be the biggest winner out of the 3. Sorry for those of you at home, we have to do that so that this video doesn't
YouTube,
get
I dare you to mark this video as made for kids. I am tired of dealing with your foolishness. If you added the fighting type to Fire Punch, it would be 4 times super effective against Steel and Ice. Good heavens! So once again, an unlucky few Pokemon would become 16 times weak to it. This move would delete Alolan Sandshrew and Sandslash in record time. Thanks to the fighting type, Rock's resistance to fire would be cancelled out, but so would the bug type's weakness. It would also make all the elemental punches super effective against Dark. Fire Punch is normally resisted by Fire, Water, and Dragon as well, but the fighting type would make it not very effective against even more types, namely Flying, Poison, Psychic, and Fairy. It would also be completely ineffective against Ghost types.
The fighting type is one of the weirder types out there. Like the ground type, it's super effective against a record 5 types, but on the flip side, it's resisted by another 5, and Ghost types are immune. Sorry.
No, we're done.
Oh,
We're done.
I know.
I think we've made our point.
Ice Punch would become not very effective against a bunch of new types, and so would Thunder Punch. These moves would also no longer be super effective against flying, so in this case, the fighting type giveth and the fighting type taketh away.
There's one thing that I thought might help offset the new resistances. If the elemental punches were fighting type, I figured fighting type Pokemon would get stabbed from it. That would make them an even better choice for Pokemon like Hitmonchan, because it would get the fighting stab on top of the Iron Fist boost. But as it turns out, that wouldn't actually be the case.
You did it to us, okay? You did it to us.
What you made a joke saying, "Hey, leave a comment," before you even knew that I had that in the script.
Yeah, I did. That's fine. Whoops, I guess I did it to ourselves.
I'm gonna punch you in the nose.
Flying Press is treated as only a fighting type move in nearly every respect. The flying type is only considered when it comes to type effectiveness. If another Pokemon calls Flying Press with something like Metronome, only fighting types will get stabbed from the move, not flying types. It's also affected by fighting type specific items, like the Fist Plate, Black Belt, and Choppleberry, but not their flying type equivalents, the Sky Plate, Sharp Beak, or Cobra Berry. That means that even if we added new types to moves, no new Pokemon would get the same type attack bonus. The game would still treat them as having one type in most regards.
For more videos like this, subscribe to MEPlaysGames. You can also support the show by becoming a channel member for as low as 99 cents a month. You'll get to watch these videos early, and you can also see exclusive Let's Plays, like our current playthrough of Pokemon X. But you know what? Let's take a look at Tri-Attack. The user fires off 3 beams of energy, each with a different element: fire, ice, and electricity. It has a chance to burn, freeze, or paralyze the target, but in-game it's a normal type move, which is kind of weird when you think about it, because ghost types aren't immune to fire, ice, or electric, but they are immune to Tri-Attack. It's fair that it's a normal type move, because it wouldn't make sense to make it electric type or something. That would leave 2 of the 3 beams unaccounted for. But what if Tri-Attack dealt electric, fire, and ice damage at the same time instead of normal?
Well, when you smash all 3 types together, Tri-Attack would be 4 times effective against flying, 2 times effective against bug and grass, resisted by dragon, electric, rock, and water, double resisted by fire, and ground types would be immune to it. Yeah, that's not great, to be frank with you. But hey, it can hit ghosts now, so that's something, right?
Who's Frank? I thought you were Elias.
Shut up.
On paper, the idea of moves having 2 types seems nice. You'd be consolidating 2 moves worth of coverage into 1. But in practice, most of these moves fall flat, because some of the weaknesses cancel each other out. That's part of the reason Flying Press isn't commonly used. It's a fighting type move that doesn't beat Rock and Steel, and it's a flying type move that can't hit Ghosts. We could go on and on about how weird the Ghost type is, but let's keep moving forward.
Morocco has adopted order. In most cases, you'd be better off using standard moves instead of the 2 type monstrosities we've jumped up today. You'd be able to hit a wider variety of Pokemon for super effective damage that way. That's why Hawlucha usually opts for acrobatics and some fighting stab of your choice as opposed to flying press. But like we've seen a couple times during this video, some of these moves would have value in some contexts. This is kind of funny, by the way. This is this is how Civ 5 works. I have 2 submarines and a frigate.
Hey guys, Elias is a fraud. He's playing Civ 5 while recording this video.
Deal with it. By the time this video goes out, the new Olympics will be upon us.
The new Olympics will be upon us. Elias will be taking part in gymnastics, shooting, and basketball. There was a case of, and I'm not joking when I say this, voter fraud in the Pokemon community that was uncovered last night.
Voter fraud?
Last week, Kyurem was banned, and you need a supermajority. Turns out, the only reason that it got a 60% vote to get banned was because one person used 11 different alt accounts and distributed them to different people.
Incredible.
So, Kyurem's been unbanned, I guess. Welp, that's all we got for today. Leave a comment about Spinarak. If you'd like to support the show, you can join the channel as a member. That'd be greatly appreciated, because it'll help us keep making these videos. And as always, shoutouts to our existing members: Akruda, Starkid Phil, MEPlaysGames host extraordinaire Elias, Long Story, Lord Matthew, Summon Sloth, Skintist, Victor Manzo, Saphira, Shard the Duraludon, Kai the Memer, Gavin Eric, Patrick Chipman, Kits Day, Katalia, JVGL, Daniel, and Too Cute to Be Straight. Consider adding your own support as well. We'll see you all next time. Good night, fellas. Sleep well.